So, new season, new weapons, and thankfully it's not like Chapter 4 to where the new season means whole entire new loot pool of weapons, with occasionally bringing one back from the olden times, but we have 5 new weapons to talk about. And talk about them I will. First up, the OXR rifle. It looks more like a normal rifle, thankfully, than, well, the Spire rifle or the Deadeye DMR, but, you know, the better thing is one issue that's been plaguing me for like 3 guns this entire season, every single new gun that is, and that's the fact that bolts don't fly back. But this one fixes that issue. And oddly enough, it has the modular magazine, but the reason why I feel it does is because it reuses the Nemesis AR's reload, which makes this the third gun to do that. So, yeah, while it's a retextured version of the modular magazine, it is still the base default modular magazine. And this gun has it, but now it matches the aesthetic of the exotic. Unfortunately, much like the Lawless Trinity rifle, the iron sights are removed for some reason, so we won't know if they've actually learned from their mistakes and actually make attachments, at least ones that you can't mod, you know, take the aesthetic of wraps or exotics. So, yeah. And speaking of it, this doesn't hold wraps properly. I don't know if I've already said that or not. Now onto the same thing, but a shotgun. So it doesn't hold the wraps either, and it's a bit weird. And when you fire it, the crosshairs move. Don't know if I like that. It's kind of like the ballistic weapons when you use them in third person, or well, really in first person, anyways. But at least that's not a problem there because it's unique to the game mode. And this works basically just like the tac shotgun, but with a helical magazine that revolves for some reason. I don't know how this would work, but I mean, it's whatever. And also, the screen is turned off when you actually use a wrap on this gun, so that's unfortunate. The second shotgun, which is more like a pistol, kind of works like the later heavy shotgun, but anyways, it doesn't take wraps at all. At least I don't think it does. So pistols are broken this chapter still, unfortunately. But either way, it does have a cool detail to where the shells disappear. Even though I don't know exactly how that works because it's a revolver, but it has a slide, so something's clearly working. Even though it's clockwise, so the shell should be ejected from the left. If anything, it it's Fortnite. It doesn't necessarily need to be too realistic as much as I do like my weapons looking close to realistic. So, yeah, very cool. This weapon does not have any first-person rigging at all, so I will not be showing that off anymore. So, next up, I grabbed this by accident, is the Lead Spitter 3000. It costs $12,000 to fire this weapon for 12 seconds. It does the interesting crosshair thing, and the triad of barrels spins in of itself, so I don't know how it functions realistically. And on top of that, the bullets center themselves when you actually fire, because it shoots from the outer barrel for some reason. But either way, finally has a reload animation for a minigun, so that's very cool. And it's a cool animation at that. Not sure how it would work still, but you know, it's a minigun and it's Fortnite. Next up, we have the Storm Strike. A very cool gun, as much as it would be a pain to fight, much like this one probably is, but it does that. Not much to really talk about for that one. Doesn't have any first-person rigging either. And I only really brought out this gun because, well, the icon's busted, and it holds a little bit less than Kit's shockwave launcher for some reason. It only holds 4, so basically Demomed from Team Fortress 2, much like the quote that I probably incorrectly referenced earlier. So, first person animations, well, not animations, but rigging is similar to all the other ones. Now, speaking of first person, let's actually see all these weapons in first person. So the OXR rifle, basically what you'd expect, but technically has a reload animation, and I wonder if that's because it reuses the animations from the Nemesis AR. So I'm wondering maybe they'll figure out, or at least consider reusing the first-person animations for this gun, and hopefully the Fury AR, and much like the Hollow Twister, because it reuses the Striker's animations. So hopefully these do get animations. That'd be really cool. And the Eradicator one, which has a faster fire rate, by the way, I forgot to mention. Same deal. This one doesn't really have animations, but at least it does have rigging. Much like the Season 3 weapons still don't have, besides the Deadeye DMR, of course. So, there's that at least. And weirdly enough, the Swarm Strike does, and it's also properly, sighted in. A little bit off, but of course they need you to actually, for one, see the crosshair and laser guidance. But, it's not like one-to-one with the center, but that's as close as you can be. So that's very cool. It doesn't have any first-person animations either, but. So that's about it for everything else. Now let's talk about a small rant and double trouble. So first up, double, you hold it closer to your face when you're, not aiming in, and when you aim in, you hold it further, and it's the opposite for trouble. Don't know why when these are supposed to basically be the same gun. I guess it's because, like, they're supposed to be different guns, because these are the only shotguns you can double pump with. And speaking of double pumping, it should be vaulted by now in Fortnite OG, because Season 5 not only nerfed pumps in general, well, I think it was like really late Season 4, but they nerfed double pump during late Season 4 anyways. They tried to nerf it in Season 3 too, but it still worked because, it was still faster. Either way, Epic is really riding on this exploit, so kind of unfortunate, but at least in normal BR, it's just two guns and not every single gun. So, yeah, hopefully they vault it for Season OG, and when we get, of course, to the next season, we never see something like this again, because I'm not gonna lie, it is getting kind of tiresome actually facing it. Sure, you have the advantage and everyone knows about it. It's still an exploit that, should have been fixed, and now they've brought it back officially, and officially in normal BR2 for the first time in a long while. And I feel like this is the second reason why mods are not brought back, is so they can unvault weapons that don't have modularity, instead of making a whole new version of the weapon that's modular. So, yeah, but they brought back POI capturing, so to all those saying the argument of chapter gimmicks, being chapter only, there's your evidence of that theory further being proven wrong. It's simply just because Epic doesn't want to handle mods in a better light, and because people complained about how they were handling them anyways. So that's about it for this section of the video. So for this part of the video, I want to show off a glitch that happens with first-person camera now, and it's this. Your arms just look weird, your shoulders look weird, your back is more arched and weirdly looking. But the thing I want to talk about is the fact that the burst AR is close to being fixed, because at least it's the three-shot sound. Nothing else has been fixed of it, but the three-shot sound is finally there. And if I remove the first person more properly, unfortunately it's even more buggy because this happens. Yeah, so that's about it for this part of the video. this is something I wanted to talk about last time also, and while there's no new animations or any changes to these guns yet, at the time, when you put a scope on it, it doesn't change its position. So they're working on mods for these guns, at least how it's handled in first person. So maybe they're thinking about how it will be used in ballistic, maybe, or something. All I know is that this at least gives us more use for these guns in first person because some of them are still weird, especially the ones that aren't fixed or don't have any animations, but at the very least the ones that do have animations at least work remotely, you know. The Hyper SMG, by the way, the MP5 still doesn't have its animations back correctly, but you know it is still you know close to being that way. So, for the final part of this video, I want to reiterate something and talk about something I just recently discovered, and also another thing. Before I do actually talk about the other two things, let's talk about the third thing first. So, the energy sword is finally in the game. Halo collabs twice, energy sword. Star Wars collabs 45 times, empirical spoon. Well, I don't hate the Sith toothpick because the Sith toothpick is actually supposed to be Phasma's baton. It's so crazy to me that we still don't have lightsabers. And by the way, the argument against it is just as dumb as the chapter gimmicks argument. Just let people have what they want. Even if they use it once, they're still going to enjoy having it, you know? And I highly doubt people would use a lightsaber once. But, you know, either way, that's about it for that little small rant. The second thing is that I want to point out that they don't actually hold the energy sword properly. They hold it much like how you would expect to hold it, but it's Zingili designed, so you're supposed to hold it with your index and middle finger separate away from your ring finger and pinky finger, because there's a little jut out in the middle of the handle that makes you separate your two fingers. But it's just a small little nitpick. It's not a big problem. I don't really care about it, but I just want to share that knowledge so someone out there might care about that. You know, it's really whatever. Very cool that we finally have the sword. But I do have one small nitpick actually before I get onto the other two things, and that is the fact that the equip sound effect isn't as powerful as I would like it to be. But I guess they need to make it remotely quiet so it doesn't give you a disadvantage. But either way, I would really like the sound effect, basically. So nothing really fixed, of course, unfortunately. So it's just to really talk about cars again. And to talk about cars, the Ferrari 296 GTB, the wheels are still jutting out, unfortunately. I really want that to be fixed because it just looks goofy to me. And that's not how it looked like in Rocket League, nor how it looked like in, well, Fortnite Chapter 2, because again, this car was first added there, and while there's a lot of differences between it and its Chapter 2 appearance, much like the grill and air scoops, it's very funny that it was added around Superman's time. So, yeah, a bit weird that this car also leaked a year before it actually released. Took that long because it was added prior, but I guess licensing reasons. And much similar to that, the Chevy Corvette, again, same deal, but the actual problem that I want to talk about is the front wheels are slightly jutting out. The back wheels are fine. I think they are one to one how they are in Rocket League, but the front wheels definitely aren't. It's a faint jut out, and it's a small problem, but yeah. They also fixed the sound effect that played for everyone in the island when you actually equip this car, so that's cool, but you know, that one small problem of the wheel jutting out, even though it's not supposed to. For the McLaren 570S, it's perfect. At least I think the wheel sizes might be off, but I haven't checked that out yet, and I haven't checked out for the forklifting GTD also, but either way, this was later leaked, not a year like the other two cars were, but it's finally came into Fortnite, much like the Bugatti Adici, which I don't know necessarily how to pronounce. Hopefully, I pronounced it right, but either way, I can't wait for the Bugatti to come in because I already purchased it in Rocket League. Unfortunately, I didn't get the McLaren 570S, of course, so I had to get it with the unfortunate up pricing. But yeah, they're finally adding a lot of the cars that have been leaked for a while. You know, the BMW M3 E30 is finally here as well, and it's I think the cheapest a licensed car has ever been, ignoring of course Kit and the Quadra VTEC, because those ones I think are special like occasions. But yeah, very cool. Although it does have the one pattern of let's hold out a car and choose it for a collab for no reason to make it both more enticing and also just because we need to actually sell it. But yeah, at least we do have the car finally with very interesting wheels, by the way, I might add. The back wheel looks like the OEM, but the front wheel actually looks more proper. Bit interesting, but I don't hate it. That's just about it for this video. So, yeah, nothing else to talk about.